Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed by the guests and hosts of this show are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the company or the show itself. The discussions and statements made during this program are intended for informational purposes. Listeners are encouraged to critically evaluate the content and form their own opinion.
Explora bookworms, welcome to the program where we explore and talk books, Explora Talks. Welcome again to another segment, and we're very excited today because again, we're going to talk to another author with an interesting story to tell. This is a very inspirational, miraculous, and something that we can get to learn from. A story that is now written in a book entitled This Is Me. What a very striking title that she has. And she's going to talk about the book and at the same time, what her, what happened in her life, the things that have transpired from the previous years that she spent. And we're going to talk about this book, This Is Me. This is now available on Amazon and other leading digital channels. So I'm proud and honored to welcome her here in the program, the author of This Is Me, Marty Tilley. Hello, Marty. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for heeding to our invitation to be part of Explora Talks. We are thankful that finally you will be publishing this book with Explora Books, and we thank you for your time and for your trust with Explora Books.
Oh, yes, I'm very excited about this.
We're excited about this too.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gents, Explora Bookworms, what's very interesting about this book is it talks about the life of Marty Tilley. Now, her life is no short of ordinary because it is an extraordinary life. She lived a very inspirational life. Now, but before we talk, Marty, about your life and about this book, tell us about your profession or career. What have you been doing for the past decades?
Yes, I was going to college to become a teacher.
Wow.
In the late 70s, when I graduated with a psychology degree, there were numerous teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So there was not an opening, unlike today.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into social work,
Mm-hmm.
worked there for a few years with small children. Then I jumped forward into public relations and marketing.
Wow.
My psychology degree seemed to help in that area a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt I was still educating people. I represented hospitals.
Yeah.
And I could explain, educate, spoke with clubs and communities about what the hospital could do.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And then I started becoming ill. And that was in the late about 1998.
Yeah.
I loved what I did and wanted to continue working.
Yeah, of course.
But then this happened.
Wow. It must be somewhat heartbreaking to know that you are now on a very great track of your career. You're at the height of your career, in fact, and you were enjoying this career of yours. And suddenly something happened. Now, ladies and gents and Explora Bookworms, this is what this book is about. The struggles and the life, how you weather the storms of your life, the life of Marty Tilley. Now, tell us, Marty, about the day, that fateful day that you knew about this disease, an incurable disease, or were there prior to that, prior to knowing the diagnosis or whatnot? What happened? Were there any signs and symptoms that you experienced leading to this diagnosis?
Yes, that's a very good question. There were small things that at first you do not think they're a pattern. And then later you realize it was all coming together. But I was becoming allergic to simple things like shampoos and antibiotics.
Okay.
And that was so sporadic for about 6 months that none of the doctors correlated the symptoms, and I didn't until the day that I was in a hospital
Mhm.
and they had just cleaned the rooms.
Mhm.
And then that's when I wound up in the emergency room with anaphylactic shock, which is where your throat is starting to close. And
Mhm.
that was when I knew, as they were saving me, I knew that day
Mhm.
that something was going terribly wrong and I had to get help.
Wow. So was it like a painful experience, something that was painless or painful? How the pain levels, can you describe that?
Yes, the pain, it's more of a hyper anxious feeling because your
Mhm.
body goes into fight or flight.
Yeah, yeah,
And we all do that
yeah,
when we're
that's right.
anxious or stressed, or maybe someone wants to harm us. Well, my body was entering that. And so it was painful in that your head would feel like it was hurting. Your
Mhm.
blood pressure would jump up sky high.
Yeah,
Your pulse would go in the hundreds. And all this was happening in a matter of seconds
yeah,
after
wow.
my exposure. So I had difficulty even walking
Mhm.
at times. It affects part of your mobility. In fact, before I was completely diagnosed, I
Mhm.
was almost in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
I was
Wow.
having difficulty, staying mobile.
Wow. So you were like, you were helpless. You don't know what
Help.
to do. And
Right.
what added to this kind of anxiety and burden that you had was really not knowing what it is, because it is an incurable disease. It's unknown. What was the diagnosis? Or tell us about what the doctors said during those times.
Yes. Well, we'll start at the beginning. At the time, in the late 1990s, very few things were uh, diagnosed as environmental illness or
Mhm.
chemical sensitivities,
Yeah.
neurotoxicity. Those were
Yeah.
words that you just didn't hear. And
Mm.
so a lot of the doctors could not understand what was happening. I
Mm.
was given like Valium, things to calm
Yeah.
my blood pressure down
Mhm.
because they did not know what was happening.
Mhm.
Several times they thought that it was in my mind,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is very frustrating, but
It became
did
a
happen.
mental illness instead of a
Yeah,
physical illness. That's frustrating.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, because now I do have some marks and scars from the illness, but at that
Mhm.
time I didn't have any. So if you saw me without walking or trying to
Mhm.
walk and I'm sitting, you would think everything is fine.
Yeah.
I didn't
Wow.
have a broken arm. I didn't have
Mhm.
a black
Mhm.
eye.
Yeah.
All they could go on is what's called self reported symptoms. And multiple
Wow.
chemical sensitivity patients go and have to self report what is happening. And that's where one of the biggest difficulties lie in this illness
Mm.
are the
Wow.
symptoms that people cannot diagnose with a test.
Mhm.
So it's very difficult to diagnose.
I'm very curious because it seems like a mysterious disease that,
Yes.
that the doctors didn't try to, they were not able to figure out right away. So, how many of the millions of people do you think have this kind of illness?
Well, the last time when I was doing research in the early 2000s, at that time they were estimating close to 20 million people have this.
Wow. Okay. All right. And what is the name of the specific illness? Was there a name already by this time?
Right, there was. It's multiple chemical sensitivity.
Multiple.
MCS is what
Yeah.
they call it. Or some states refer to it as environmental intolerance, and they call it
Okay.
EI.
Yeah. Wow. So,
Depending,
you know,
yeah.
yeah, and it's a lot of pain and a lot of, challenges that you've been through. Did you have to leave your career behind just to focus on your health. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yes. And that was difficult. I did enjoy what I did. I
Yeah.
enjoyed the meeting the people every day. I
Mm-hmm.
had done it for 10 years for this one hospital. And I will say they kept my job open for 6 months, hoping
Mm-hmm.
that I would get better. And
Wow.
finally, they had to let me go after that.
Yeah.
Because we knew there was nothing else that they could do or I could do.
Yeah.
I remained isolated in my
Mm-hmm.
bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Some nights I slept in my car. Any
Yeah.
place where you could get away from whatever was triggering your
Yeah.
symptoms, whether it be bleach someone was using, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
perfume someone came by. You
That's so
just have to
difficult.
remove and find a safe spot.
Wow. It is like during those times of COVID, the
Yes.
coronavirus, where you have to isolate yourself to the world, not talk to people, and to think that you are that kind of person who loves, being with people, and you
Mhm.
as a having that career in marketing and PR, it really
Uh-huh.
requires you to be with people and to go out and be walking around, so and talking to
Yeah.
people. And so I know that that was such a difficult thing to cope with. But where did you draw your strength from? How was your faith like that time?
Oh, the faith grew because I turned to God. It was
Wow.
just all I could think about was God. I would pray that God would show me,
Mm-hmm.
and actually he did. I
Mm-hmm.
went into a bookstore. I took a chance to be around people
Mm-hmm.
because I realized it was up to me to
Yeah.
get better. I went
Mm-hmm.
into a local bookstore, and it was if a light had shined upon a book. And
Wow.
I reached for it, I purchased it, and then drove home, and then opened it, and there I was on the pages in the chapter of multiple chemical sensitivity. So
Wow.
Joel, I had a name, and I was
Wow.
joyful because
Mm-hmm.
I thought, just give me a name, cancer,
Yeah.
lupus, what? Just give me something.
Yeah,
And
that's
God
right.
showed me. And I knew then that I knew what I had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in
That's
the
right.
back of this book were resources.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I started getting help. I started calling doctors in the back of that book
Mm-hmm.
and found help.
Imagine that. It was you
Oh,
who found out about
yes,
what the name of this disease and telling doctors what
yes.
this is about. And they figured that, wow, this is at last the name of this disease. And the symptoms really matches. Am I right?
Oh, yes. And they were understanding. They just didn't deal with that. At that time, the only specialist that dealt with environmental illnesses, things
Mhm,
that I call out of the box, they're not black and
mhm,
white,
mhm.
illnesses of that sort.
Yeah,
They were in California, New York, large cities. And then I
yeah.
did find the one in Boca Raton, Florida. And
Mhm.
that is where I went for help.
Wow. But I'm really very interested, Marty. Is this genetic, or is this something that, just a fluke of nature, like a fluke of something that
Right.
just came to you? What were the triggers? How did you get this disease?
Well, that is a great question, Joel, because one thing, absolutely one thing that the environmental specialist told me in Boca,
Mm-hmm.
after all of his years of serving our people with this
Mm-hmm.
illness, they had one thing in common. They
Mm-hmm.
did not sweat. So, see, my
Oh.
body could not release the toxins that were building up from
Mm-hmm.
everyday exposures,
Mm-hmm.
food consumption. My body couldn't release them. And he
Wow.
said every patient he had the same problem. So he felt that the inability to release the toxins
Mhm.
was a big factor for this.
I see. I see. Now I can sense how great that was for you. I mean that how grave that situation for you. It's like the whole world shattered for
Yes,
you. But
yes,
but what I can get from this is your faith even strengthened. But for many people, when they go through such difficult times, sometimes you question God, you blame God, and sometimes you ask, why me of all people? Was there any part in that journey that you questioned, at least just a question to God, why
yeah,
me,
no,
Lord? Was there
not at all,
any portion?
none whatsoever.
Wow.
No, because I know the fact of life. Bad
That's right.
people do good things,
Mm-hmm.
opposite, bad things happen to good. And I knew this was a storm, and
Mm-hmm.
I prayed that I would survive it if that was God's will, because it
Mm-hmm.
was a ferocious storm, Joel, that I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
You
Indeed,
know,
indeed.
I had near death experiences on
Mm-hmm.
multiple occasions. So I am very thankful that I'm here right now,
Wow,
still
God is
here on
good.
the earth. Yes,
Despite
God is.
everything, God is good.
Yes,
Now, Marty, let's talk about your support system. I know faith is one area where you get some support from God, from your
right.
faith strengthened. But were there people behind you who did comfort you? Because having that physical touch from people and emotional support would matter a lot. Who were the people behind you that time?
Yes. My father, who just recently passed away, but
Mm-hmm.
he has been such a strong influence in my life. He's actually on the front cover of the book, but
Wow.
he was everything. He believed in
Mm-hmm.
me. He knew something was wrong. He prayed
Mm-hmm.
over me, but he was in my corner. And I knew that he would always believe me. He would never think that something wasn't wrong or that it wasn't a psychiatric
Mm-hmm.
nature.
Yeah.
We had some people that questioned and even discussed that with my father, but he stood
Mm.
strong and said, "No, this is real." And
Wow.
my children were up grown enough, thank goodness, to take care of themselves. Sometimes this illness may hit a young person who still has
Mhm.
little children to take care for,
Mhm.
and I feel very lucky that when it did strike me, I only had myself to try to
Yeah.
care for.
Wow.
So that, you
You
know,
had an amazing dad behind you, and I think that is the reason why your perspective in life is really very positive. When you met this disaster in your life, your
mhm,
perspective was very positive. You know that you can get through anything with by God's grace, and you didn't question God. Your faith even strengthened despite the turmoil that you went through. So it was your dad who really established this from the beginning, establish this within you, that you know things happen, and you just have to
yeah.
accept the fate that you're dealt with. Now tell us about how you created this book. I'm sure all of the experiences were encapsulated here in this book entitled This Is Me. Now tell us how you crafted this book. When did you craft this book? How did it start?
I started around 1997, and I began every day. I would keep a small diary
Hmm.
to keep my symptoms, and it
Yeah.
helped me personally to kind of watch what was happening. Was I improving? Was I
Yeah.
worsening? And of course, I could see that I was, so I could remain focused on
Hmm.
this, what I would call like this entity. It was like this
Hmm.
shadow,
Yeah.
and it had no name. If you want to make a movie, the shadow, but it, uh, from my notes
Hmm.
and realizing the life that as it started, when I was not even supposed to be here on this
Hmm.
earth,
Hmm.
that I knew that I had to tell it. I had to tell the story. And
Mm.
so I started writing and writing, and just tears would flow
Mhm,
because,
mhm.
I wrote it, of course, post this.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it brought it back. It brought the
Mhm,
trauma back, but I had
mhm.
to work through it, and I did, so that it will help people.
Of course.
But I just started writing, one word, and just
Mm.
it began to flow.
Wow, what an inspiration you have, Marty. And the good thing is, you wrote this for people who will suffer in any kind of disease, whether it be a mysterious disease or diseases like diabetes, cancer. They go through the same stages that you have. And it is something that's up for grabs for our Explora viewers right there, right now, listening to this podcast or show. Please do get a copy of This Is Me, that is now available on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, online, and other leading digital outlets. Now, Marty, now I wanna talk. I want you to walk through the part where you knew that this is already, I'm fine with this. You have accepted the reality. Because for someone who gets to have a disease, and when they figure out that they have this disease, the acceptance could be very hard for them to do. But how did you
Yes.
get to accept the reality that you will be forever you know, be somewhat suffering with this kind of mysterious disease? How did you cope with it?
Well, different ways, but you had a very good point. After I lost my job, I had a lucrative career,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed traveling for
Mm-hmm.
my job. All that was taken away.
Yeah.
So I did have concerns about how I was going to make it, how I was going
Mhm.
to live
Yeah, financial,
financially, just to
sources,
survive.
of
You know,
course. Hmm.
the what needed. I had to take care of my children, so I did apply for Social Security, hoping they would. I looked for resources, and
Hmm.
surprisingly, even though this diagnosis the doctors were unaware of, it actually was a diagnosis in the government's office.
Mm.
So when I did reach out, there was no question. Again, I think a God moment. There was
Yeah.
no question, and they helped me, and that helped me to get through the day to day. The things, the paying the bills, just the
Hmm.
day to day activity, and then I started having time. And I've always wanted to write. I've always liked writing.
Hmm.
So that's when I thought, my life is not over. I can
Right.
begin a second career,
Hmm.
and I want to tell my story. So I love writing, and I write all the time. So I wanted this book to become a reality.
Wow, it actually spurred a new kind of passion for you,
Yes,
a passion for writing and reading and getting to, you know, to read more books and to write even more. Now,
yes,
as you said here, I think it said here that she stands strong in your synopsis, unencumbered by insinuations and innuendos, and begins her process to identify true validation for illness lurking deep in the shadows. Giving up will never be an option again. What a powerful word that is. Giving up will never be an option. What is your challenge to those people watching us right now who have been through such turmoil in life? They feel like they're already giving up. Even people with, let's say, not just physical physical diseases. It could be mental diseases. Right now, young people nowadays, Marty, there is
mhm,
a surge of mental illness, anxiety, and depression, especially with the advent of social media, where, you know,
right,
social media nowadays portrays the world as a perfect world, and there is no perfect world anywhere but eternity. Am I right? A life with God is the
correct.
perfect world. But this actually is, it actually breeds with a generation of people who are insecure and depressed and anxious. This is a disease as well. What is your challenge to these people? How will you tell them not to give up?
I would just tell them that what I looked to
Mhm.
is search for a higher being, search
Mhm.
for God, and He will be there. You may not see Him immediately, but if you will open up your heart, stand strong, and put aside the social media, as you said, take a walk, open a book,
Yes.
take a break,
Mhm.
and just He will show up. It'll be in the most amazing, unusual ways. And you'll see life again. You'll start seeing things happen and
Mhm.
things you would never dream. They will happen. You just have to have a perseverance and patience. And our
Mhm.
society is not a patient society anymore.
That's true.
Like you said, we want things fast, quick.
Mhm.
Social
Yeah.
media explains everything to us. Our phones are with us all the time, and I use them. It's just we have to be so careful.
Wow. Thank you so much, Marty, for that. And I think things happen for a reason because your experience, for example, is a light to the path of those who are in the darkness. They are in the dark with whatever disease that they're going through, whatever challenges that they go through. There is light. And your life right there, which is written under the title This Is Me, now available, guys, on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, and other leading digital outlets. Just get a copy of that. This Is Me, written by Marty Tilley. Marty, thank you for your time. But before we go and leave you and part ways, please invite everyone to get a copy of your book.
Oh, yes. Oh, please grab the book. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. But it's not a sad book. It actually is
Mhm.
a joyful book. And you will get inspiration, I promise.
Thank you so much, Marty. And lastly, Marty, before we part
Yeah.
ways, how was the experience with Explora Books been like with you going through this publication and
Mhm.
marketing of this book? Tell us about your experience with Explora.
Oh, it's been just incredible. It's amazing. It has just been everything. I mean, Paula has been just so insightful. It's like she's my right hand. She's just always available whenever I call. So, no, it has been a wonderful experience. And I would recommend anyone who would wish to look at writing to look to your company, to Explora.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you for your time. And again, folks, if you want to grab a copy of this book, please do so right now. It's already at the QR code right here in front of you on your screens. This Is Me by Marty Tilley. You can also grab a copy through Amazon by clicking on the link below the description box here in this YouTube video or this social media video or wherever you see this. The captions, it's all right there. It's available on Amazon. Writer of This Is Me, Marty Tilley, thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing your inspiring and motivating journey. And I wish you the best. I will pray for you. And I
Thank you.
pray for success in whatever endeavor you have, because your success will show everyone that whatever disability, whatever happens to your life should never stop. You can be successful despite whatever challenge you've been through.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Joel, so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you and goodbye for now. Thank you so much. And there you go, the author of the book, This Is Me, Miss Marty Tilley. Thank you so much for your time. What an inspiring life that she has. Indeed, something that gives us a lot of message in our hearts and minds that indeed, if you are going through something, whatever disease that you might encounter in the future, there is hope, there is light in your life as long as you trust in Him. Thank you so much for your time. And again, if you'd like to get a copy of this book, please do so right now. This Is Me is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other leading digital outlets. It's also available right there below this video is a caption, and it has a shortened URL or a shortened link where you can buy this on Amazon, or you may also scan the QR code that is displayed on your screen. Get a copy of This Is Me and be inspired and be motivated by this beautiful story of Marty. Now, if you'd like to get your manuscript published with Explora Books, you may do so anytime. Just send us your manuscript, or you may call any of our representatives through the contact information at the contact tab of our website. Our website is www.explorabooks.com, and go to contact tab, or you may email us at the email address of Explora Books. That's info@explorabooks.com. See you again next time, folks. This has been Joel, your host, your resident host for Explora Books, our Explora Talks, where we explore and talk books. See you again next time. Goodbye.